Hello and welcome back to Heartbreak Hotel with Erica Danielle. This is your girl from Heartbreak Hotel, married to the Backslider. I believe we are on chapter 6, episode 8. I might be wrong, but we're in the right place. All right. Let's jump into this. I believe I'm gonna make this my last episode for today. Until next time. Chapter 6, The Ugly Truth. Dr. Stone. Hi, Eva. Let's talk about the promise you made your mom. How did you come to make it? Why did you break it? How did she even know about the life you were living? Like I said, my mother kept us in church. She made us sing in the choir, usher, whatever else she could think of. Because she made us do it all the time, I hated it. Because I saw how we lived at home. We were poor. How Jeff treated us, how my childhood friends were dying, getting locked up. It was just so hard to trust. I believed in God, but I didn't trust him. When my mom died, I went right back to smoking, drinking, partying, selling drugs. I had promised her before I went to college that I would stop living the life, and I did. But after she died, it went bad, real bad. When in high school, of course, I was dating Khalid. She saw the gifts he bought. She saw how I dressed the twins and helped out with the bills. The summer I was 18, Drake bought me a car, what we call a hoopty, an old school big body Crown Victoria. My mother was not happy because she didn't want me dependent on a man, but she trusted Drake not to use me or to hurt me. I spent that summer in Florida with my cousin Lucy. Lucy had always been my bad news. She was my mother's sister from Charlotte's only daughter. We had been best friends because Jeff was always sending us to live with them whenever my mom was in the hospital for longer than a week. So I drove my Vic down to the top of Florida. My auntie was already there, ready to take the twins for the summer since my mother was in the hospital. Lucy was 21 and had her own place in a little city called the Bay. I still had all the weed I could ever want and checks from the movie theater, so I was good. I had just graduated from high school and was going to St. Augustine's in the fall. Lucy was always into having some crazy boyfriend, the kind who fought all the time. If you got people in your family that's always in an abusive relationship, that's a generational curse. Pray against it. She had a little boy by some crazy Dominican named Miguel who had talked her into moving down to Florida. They had been together since they were in high school. He had broken my tooth in the ninth grade. He said I was talking back. So naturally, I wasn't too fond of him, but he helped me get my business out there. One night when I was sleeping, Lucy was out with Miguel and I was keeping little Miguel. They hadn't been getting along as usual. I had always told her that she should just leave him and come back to North Carolina with me. When she came home that night, my light-skinned, long-haired cousin was black and blue. Her eye was swollen shut to the size of a golf ball. There were marks around her neck. She said she had tried to end things with Miguel and he had tried to kill her. This is my second cousin. Mind you, my first cousin got killed by her boyfriend. Pray over those generational curses. Why? I asked her. She said that she had asked him for money for their baby and wanted to know if they were going to get married. He said he was tired of her asking for things. She said that she was tired of waiting for him and that it was over. Someone knocked on the door and she saw him make a sale. He had been stealing my weed and selling it for a cheaper price to the people I usually deal with. He was pocketing the money. She told him that he was stealing from her baby cousin, not to mention that he was behind on child support and always claiming broke. He was making money and refusing to take care of his responsibility. How could he take food from his son's mouth? She cried. She said she realized right then it was over. It was enough for them to fight, but she wasn't going to let him treat her son like crap. When she told him it was over, they began to fight. He wrapped her neck with a lamp cord and beat her over and over in the face. But her arms were free. So she took her fingers and popped out his eye and he let her go. She was screaming, "I can't believe he would actually try to kill me." Heck no is all I could say. We're going back over there. Call sister and tell her to get little Miguel. I was speeding down the highway. I didn't know what I was going to do, but this dude was not going to try to kill my cousin, steal my money, and get away with it. I had a pistol in the trunk that Khalif had given to me. I was going to beat him to death. We went to his house and the door was open. I went in, gun cocked in hand. I screamed, Miguel, you're going to pay for what you did to Lucy. He was on the kitchen floor holding his eye. I hit him in the face. Where's my money? I started searching the house. He was calling us all kinds of names. I kicked him over and over. Then in walked some chick, crying. She had the nerve to point a gun at me. You better leave or I'm going to shoot you, said Rachel, the lady. Lucy said, shoot her? Do you really think I'm finna let you shoot my blood? Do you really think you're going to make it out of here alive? You sat there and watched him try to kill me, all because you want to have a boyfriend. You have made my life hell over the past 2 years, all because you don't want us to be together or for him to be with his son, said Lucy. I even said you could have him, and you still took a warrant out on me and made me do 10 months inside without my baby. Nah, girl, you gonna die today, Lucy said to Rachel. Lucy rushed her. Rachel's gun went off and hit Miguel. I ducked and shot back. The shot was fired, hit Miguel right in the head. Rachel was hit in the thigh and dropped her gun. Lucy grabbed it and shot her in the chest. She was dead. I was screaming, oh no, Lucy, we gotta go. No, we gotta get them out of here, Lucy said. What, I asked? Lucy answered, yes, we can't leave them here. I'm not going back to prison. I know what we'll do. Just help me get them in the car. I don't know how we did it, but we put both those bodies in the trunk. Where are we going? I asked. My whole body was shaking. I was happy she was driving and not me. We'll drive to the river. We got some family there. Big Mike will help us. It was the next day before we got there. We didn't make any stops. Big Mike lived off the map. We had to meet him at the store to follow him to the house. When we opened the trunk, he laughed. It was like a normal for our family to be involved in some kind of criminal activity. All I kept thinking is, my mother has tried so hard to keep me away from this lifestyle. She's gonna kill me. Please, God, don't let my mama find out. I was more afraid of her than I was of the cops. I brought my attention back to my down south family. It was like I had been initiated into a family fraternity. He didn't ask any questions. He just called for my other cousins, picked up the bodies, and went to the shed. I heard the chopping. I remember throwing up. So what happened then, Eva? Dr. Stone asked. They took hams, raw chicken, tied them to the body parts. Come on, pretty girl, they said to me. Help us clean up the mess you made. I didn't want to go. I wanted it to all be a dream, but it wasn't. The heat let me know it was real. The flies and the mosquitoes biting my legs let me know I was awake, alive, and this was happening. I don't want to go. Oh, you going, pretty. This is your mess. You are going to live it all. You either won't do it again or the next time it will come easy to you. I reluctantly got on the boat and rowed out on the water. Big Mike in his overalls and splash guard began to throw the parts into the river. In no time, here came the crocs. I started to cry again. Don't cry now, said Big Mike. They ate everything. There was nothing left. Big Mike looked at me and said, we got to get rid of that car. No, I can't. Drake bought me this car. What am I going to tell him? And what am I going to tell my mama? Girl, this car is evidence, said Big Mike. So I called Drake from the payphone in town. Drake, you got to come to the river. In true Drake form, he was on a plane and there that night. Lucy told him what happened. I was still in shock. He said, pretty, what are you thinking? You on your way to college. Why didn't you call me? I would have handled it for you. You should have never got your hands dirty. It all happened so fast. We didn't have a choice. It was them or us. I'm sorry about the car, I said, as I looked at Drake with the long face. Girl, cars are everywhere. I only have one you, Drake said, as I laid my head on his shoulder. You'll get another car. Don't worry about that. Whew. They took all the parts, radio, rims, and other things that people would steal off a car to make it look like it had been jacked. As they took the license plates off the car and started to put ammonia and bleach all over the car, I screamed, wait, my Jay-Z CDs. Y'all, what kind of person? Girl, you are an accessory. You worried about records, Big Mike scolded. But he's my all-time favorite rapper. I reached in the car. It's too late, Drake said. You'll get more CDs. I was so upset. I had exclusive tracks in that car that I would never get back. I focused on being upset about my collection being lost rather than the real problem at hand. I wonder what rap Jay-Z would have made about this situation, I thought to myself. I didn't want to think about real life at that moment. Little Joey drove it somewhere off the grid, torched it, and reported it as stolen a month later. The police asked me why I hadn't reported it early. I told them I was scared because I wasn't supposed to be anywhere in Florida and that my mother would have killed me. They didn't even think to link us to the crime because apparently no one cares about low-life drug dealers. Lucy called sister, who was still keeping little Miguel, and Drake sent his people to the house to pack it up, move Lucy back to Charlotte. She was mean before then, but she was never the same afterwards. I never told my mother, but I'm sure she knew it. When I got ready to go off to college, she sat me down. Listen, Eva, I know you know who God is. He's been favoring your life since you were born. I know you're not saved, and I can't make you be, but you have to leave everything here. That means no drugs, no fighting, no killing, no craziness in college. My heart dropped in my stomach when she said no killing. This is a chance for you to change your life. God has given you new grace and mercies. I wanted to break down and cry, but I knew that I would probably tell her what happened. And even though she was in tune with the spirit, I couldn't bear confirming what she already knew. No matter what I did, I was always respectful to my mother. I couldn't dare let her down. It would break her heart. She was my everything. I love her more than anything. I made a promise to her to do my best when I went to college. No more misbehaving. I was on the straight and narrow until she died. What made you go back? You know that I was not saved, but I had cleaned myself out. And there's a scripture that talks about demons coming back 7 times stronger. I think they did because I was depressed and alone after my mom died. Me and Keith had just gotten together. The twins were with Jeff, which is my biggest regret to this day that I didn't take them with me. Their lives would have been better if I had moved them to Raleigh with me after my mom died. My life would have been better because I would have never lived with Keith and would have never been smoking and selling weed. This time when I was selling drugs, it was so much easier, so much more money. Once a month from a payphone, there was a call made and a drop. 21 years old, and we thought we were living a life. But now I know that I was just trying to fill a void. I knew I had no conscience the next time I shot someone. There was a girl who was on drugs real bad. She had a thing for Keith. I wasn't worried because she was a fiend to me. But it was starting to really piss me off. She stole from me one time. She came to my job one day just to annoy me. Then one day she was standing outside Keith's car when we got out of class. That was the last straw. I told her to get in the car. Keith was like, "What are you doing?" I told you to tell her to stop coming around, but she don't listen. I drove out to the country, told her to get out of the car. Keith was yelling at me. "What are you doing? I have class at 6 p.m. "Okay, Keisha, I told you to stay away. You don't get it," I said to her in the open field. She was just looking at me, arms folded and rolling her eyes. I punched her. She reached to touch her bloody nose and swung wild at me. Keith was shaking his head, thinking, "This is crazy." I reached in the car and grabbed my gun. "Yep, real crazy," I said. "Now you're going to stay away from Keith, right?" Fear set into her face. She lunged at me and I smacked her again with the gun. "What are you doing?" said Keith. "This is ridiculous. I'm going to be late for class." He was so studious. She was still talking junk as she kicked my leg. So I shot in the foot. She screamed, "You're not going to be at our car no more, and I'm not going to see you in my house no more, right?" She was cursing and crying at the same time. I shot at her again, this time to scare her. "You're not going to steal from me, and I'm never going to see you at my job again." By now, Keith had gotten in the car. He grabbed the gun and pulled me into the car. He sped off, leaving Keisha there. "You are really crazy. You know I don't want that girl," he said to me. "That temper is going to get you a sentence in jail or kill. I don't care. Don't nobody play with me and don't nobody steal from me." "Well, I care, and I'm not trying to lose you. Promise me you're going to act right," he said, looking at me. "We cannot live like that. We're from the hood, but we're not in the hood no more. We got dreams and goals, remember?" He said in the calmest voice ever. "It's me and you." "Yes, sir," I said to him. I knew he was all I had, and I didn't want to disappoint him. He was my peace in the stormy life. To this day, I don't know if Keith was more mad because he missed class or because I shot her. He wasn't the violent type. He was super laid back. He only gets defensive if someone messed with me or his family. He never fussed at me again about it. I never saw her again, but I saw her again, but she kept her distance. We never had words again. She didn't go to the police. I know she told someone because I heard rumors, but I would always deny it. Now that I think about it, I really am thankful for Keith because he kept me out of a world of trouble and caused me to think twice about things before I reacted. He channeled my focus on school and my career and the family he said that we would have one day. So you didn't turn yourself in? No. So do you consider yourself a killer? God knows she didn't die, but you killed or have been accessory to killing before. Sometimes it's easy to judge others when not too long ago we were in the same shoes. What if God removed his forgiveness and patience from you the way you are ready to do with Joe? Do you ever think about Keisha, Rachel, or Miguel? No, not until today. I had erased all those memories. All this time I suppressed it as if it never happened. I know that now that I'm no better than her or Rachel or Miguel or Joe. I'm actually worse, except for God's saving grace. With all the wrong I've done, it didn't make sense for me to live happily ever after. And I'm okay with that because he spared my life. I know we didn't have to. I don't deserve to be happy. That's probably why all this bad stuff is happening to me. I cried. Now, wait a minute. I'm not bashing you, Eva. I just want you to recognize that sin is sin. No big, no little. God is a redeemer and you are redeemed, which is why you are here today. He loves you, and I just want you to know that he loves Joe and can forgive him like he has forgiven you. Most of all, if you want your marriage to work, you have to forgive Joe. You have to allot him the same grace and mercy that Christ has given you. That's what marriage is about. It's a representation of Christ's love for the church. You should treat each other the way God treats you. That's enough for today, Eva. I suddenly realized I had never told anyone any of those things, that I had even made myself believe that it hadn't happened. Out of fear, I stopped at the door and turned away to say, "Are you going to keep seeing me? Can I still come back tomorrow? Are you going to go to the cops? I mean, you're a therapist. You can't do that, right?" "No, Eva, I'm not going to the police. Everything is confidential. Besides, I'm more concerned about your soul and your well being. From what I see so far, you are changed and still changing for the better. I am contracted and committed to providing counseling services for you." I went home tired. I think I was actually tired of talking. I sat at the table and drank some juice. I realized I hadn't been eating much lately. I always skip lunch and went straight to therapy. I might eat some chips before bed. Joe wouldn't eat anything I cooked so there was no need for me to fix that big meal. He was so crazy. He was actually starving himself to hurt me because he thought I would put something in his food to hurt him. I shook my head at the thought of hurting him. I wasn't that person anymore. I would leave before I decided to hurt him. Crazy, and yet still, I loved him. I miss him even though he was just in the other room. It was 7:15 p.m. I got in the shower and into my bed. He came in, cut on the light, and stood in front of the TV. "Excuse me, I just need to grab something." He grabbed a shirt. I started to cry at the thought of him leaving again. I liked the idea of him being in the house, even though we weren't talking, but I couldn't ask him to say. So I held my peace as he left the house. I woke up to gunshots. It was 11:45 p.m. "Honey," I said out loud as I sat up in the bed. He wasn't there. He hadn't called or texted each other in what seemed like an eternity. "Honey," I said in a panicked voice through the phone. "Yes," said Joe. "Where are you? They're shooting. Where are you?" I asked. "I'm coming to you," he said. I don't know what it was. I was never scared of gunshots. We had at least 4 loaded guns in the house, even if Joe had 2 on him. There were always shooting in our neighborhood, but because he wasn't home, I didn't want it to be him. He was in there in 10 minutes. He came in our room. "I'm home. Everything is okay," he said, gun in hand. He went on the couch. He sat up all night. He didn't have to do that. But I looked at it as his way of showing me that he was protecting me. Man, I love that man. All right, we get into the thick of it. I want y'all to recognize that during therapy, even though I was there to find out about my marriage and what to do about Joe, I had to deal with the root cause of my issues. So, whatever you're going through, look at you first before you start pointing fingers at the other person. Okay? Have a great day.